Afternoon. We are just waiting for a couple people to pop on. Hello, Lynn. All connected. Hello, Cindy. Hi, Raquel. How are you guys doing today? Hello, Erica. We are going to play around with some glitter markers today. This is the card we're going to make. Hello, Victoria. How are you? So this is the card. I showed you guys this folder last week, so I thought we'd decorate it. Hey, Jennifer. And we're even using some of that alcohol pearl background from the Yupo that we created last week with that rose alloy in there. Hey Tamara, how are you? And die cutting some things out. You had a no bus day. Does that mean that the bus just didn't come, so you stayed home? And a day baking sounds really great. Thanks, Victoria. We have a day off here today in Calgary. It's teacher convention, so thanks. Thanks, Raquel. So the girls are both home. Erica and I did a little crafting today. She was playing around with her paints and backgrounds, and so it was a fun morning. Hello, Rhonda. And I don't know what we'll do after this. One of my daughters was getting ready to go to the Y, and it is so hard to get a teenager to understand about time when you say you're going to be ready, when someone has to drive you. Ay, ay, ay. The buses were canceled due to back roads being skating rinks. Well, that would be a good reason to stay home and stay off the road. And when I grew up in Nova Scotia, if we had school that was canceled or the buses couldn't run, then yes, you stayed home. But it seems like here in Calgary, even if the buses, there's a very odd time that the buses don't run. I rarely ever, but there's a lot of walking people. So it seems like the schools always stay open. I don't know if there's ever been a snow day here that the schools have closed, which is weird. Hey, Rosie. So let's look at these glitter markers. These are fun. Hey, Christy. I took these out of the packages. We had looked at them last week. There's Iced Ivy, and this kind of shows you the color on it. They've actually added the glitter, which is really cool, and Golden Honey. So these are the two colors we are looking at. And I thought I would just play around, and then we're going to incorporate them into our card. But they're really fun. They are really fun. So this is a look on watercolor paper, a look at what they look like, and you can see how much glitter is in these markers. It's fabulous. So this is brushed out on watercolor paper, and we'll try that. And the neat thing about it is that once it's dry, it doesn't seem to really move too much. So you can see there was a tiny bit of color, but when it's wet, it moves beautifully. So that's a really neat effect. Once it's dry, it's kind of dry, but you have that play time. So that's on watercolor paper. So you can see you could do a watercolor wash. This is on black, and I don't think you really get like a super amount of color, but I think the neat thing is that you get this really cool glitter color. And so we're going to do the background or the outline. Hello, Margaret Erica, which I think is fabulous. Like if you wanted to have this super silvery glitter color on a black cardstock, that's the result that you get, which is really neat. You can also stamp. So there's not very often where we can actually stamp with a glitter color. And this is stamped directly on, and if I can just get the light right, there you go. It actually looks like you've stamped with a glitter stamp pad. And this is the green, the ivy. And let's see, there you go. So you can color your stamp, stamp it onto, this is just regular cardstock, and you get this really fabulous image. I was actually impressed how well it stamped. Yeah, very cool, Raquel, right? This one here is watercolor cardstock, and what I did was I colored the stamp and then sprayed it with water. So it's pretty similar, maybe a little bit more watery. Same as here, I colored the little stamp. So the stamps are from, this is the Vicki Boutin Color Study, one of the stamps. I think this has been like one of my favorite stamps. I think it's still in the store. And then some from the high is from this Avery L, Loads of Hello. Both really great stamps, but those are the ones that I used. So just kind of playing around. And then this one, I stamped the heart and then colored it in with watercolor. So we're going to do a little bit of watercolor today as well with it. Yeah, I think the stamping was one of the really cool things. Oh, and this was another look on foundations paper. Coloring the stamp, spraying it with water. So I sprayed it quite a bit and then just got that really cool kind of wash. And there you can see how glittery that is. And that's stamped like 3 generations of stamping. And then I just kind of washed in some of the golds from the back and just playing around with it. And then you can also use them just as a straight border. So some neat techniques. So let's look at that and then we'll make our pretty card. So here, let's do one that has just plain cardstock and we'll stamp one of the words. So what are you guys up to today? Other than I did get a shower and did some crafting. Other than that, not too much. Okay, so let's see. Let's grab this one. Let's try the hello. The high was nice and bold. So we'll try the hello. And all I did, let's move this so you can see. Playing with the kiddos, Victoria, nice. And are your kids still off or are they back at school? So when you first open these glitter markers, there's no color in the nib and all you do is press them down to prime them. Just press it down like for a couple seconds and the color just flows into the nib. That's all. And then you don't have to do that priming again. And Rosie's waiting for a mom at the chiropractor office and planning to craft. Well, this is a good thing to do while you're waiting. So literally all I'm doing is coloring this stamp. The little fuzzy thing, we'll take that off. And you can see how much glitter. So you can hand write with these, of course, anything that you want to do with a marker. I just thought these extra techniques, I think when I cleaned this stamp last time, my wipe was kind of, you know how it gets like kind of fuzzy on sometimes, and that my marker is picking that up. if the wipe is dry. Okay. And then we are just going to stamp it down. I usually like to have my little air hockey puck. I find it works really nice to go over the surface. So because we have a stamp press, we could stamp that again, but I think it's stamped really nicely. They're back again by conference, yes. So yeah, right, Victoria? I know when I saw this, I'm like, no, it can't be that easy. And let's just get that in the light, because in real person, you can just see that glitter. Sometimes it's hard. I'm not sure if you're seeing the glitter through the camera, but it is really pretty. And it stamps really crisply. I am actually quite surprised. And then it just wipes off really easily. So I think that right there is, you know, a win-win in my books. Let's try stamping, and then we'll watercolor something in. So we'll try it 2 different ways. So this is on regular cardstock. So we're just going to stamp with, I just grabbed this Altenew ink, but just anything that is something that is waterproof. Of course, if you're using something that's water-based on it. I'm having a hard time today with things sticking on my stamps. Okay, so we're just going to put that down. We'll give that a minute just to dry. Oh, you saw the glitter? Good. Okay, so that's our regular cardstock. Then let's grab a piece of, this is watercolor cardstock. And let's, you know what, let's do this one. I kind of like this stamp. And we'll just color it in. So I think greens are really great for lots of things because it's a fairly neutral color. And then as well, that golden honey is like a bronzy kind of gold color. And again, that pretty much goes with anything as well. So I am going to stamp this in black. So this is one of those ones you could totally stamp this with your markers and just have the glitter stamp, but I thought we'll just watercolor inside of it right now. Okay, and then we'll do one of the flowers that we are actually going to color. There's always so many great stamps in those Vicki Boutin packs, hey? So we'll do the green inside this time. And before I use them, I just give them a shake. You can hear kind of, there's like a little mixing kind of thing. So I just give them a shake. I don't know exactly if you need to, but so I'm almost coloring just on the edge, and it's a fairly bold tip. So I'm just going to color on the edge. We'll stamp this and then we'll do the green. So let's see how that looks. We could do a little bit more. And the finer that your stamp is, you're going to get, you know, more of that watercolor type mixed media look. But I'm actually really impressed with how, I'm just stamping this a little harder in that one spot. I'm actually really impressed with how well it stamps even with those fine lines. So we could spritz it, of course, which is what I did with the other one. I'm just wiping that off, and then we will put a little bit of green in the center. And if we wanted more of that watercolor look, then we could spray it either before we stamp it or even after. I find my spray bottle. Here we go. I think that looks really nice. We could spray it and it would kind of spread around. I'm not going to do that right now. Okay, so we've wiped our thing off, our stamp. Now we can go in and do some watercoloring. And we're going to do a little bit of watercoloring on the card as well. So when you're watercoloring, if you are on watercolor paper, it's going to move a lot easier than on plain cardstock. We'll do a comparison here. But you can still achieve similar results. So this is rubbing it on plain, and this is rubbing it on watercolor cardstock. And I have just a water pen here, which looks like it's almost out of water. I may have to refill that up. So of course, if you're trying to move that around, you're not going to get much movement because it's already soaked into the paper and it's going to stay like that. Right, so I'm going to show you a trick on how you can watercolor if you want to do it on plain cardstock. Whereas this is a little bit of green on that. This is the watercolor cardstock, and as soon as I get it wet, look how beautifully that bleeds out, blends so nicely. So really pretty. And then as that dries, you'll be able to see that shimmer. So if we decide we do want to have a watercolor background or something watercolored on plain cardstock, this is what we can do. And it's going to just achieve different results. So we'll go back with our golden honey, and all we're going to do is scribble on the glass mat, or if you have a piece of plastic that you want or that you have, like a packaging, you could just scribble on that. So now all I'm doing is picking up the paint from this background. So then we can go in on our plain cardstock and look how nicely that moves around now. So then you still get this beautiful, look how shimmery that is. It's almost like a paint. Like it's like a paint pen, and even in the background you can get that really nice. Once it's on, you can't keep moving it like you could on watercolor paper, but you can definitely get a really cool effect on regular cardstock. The foundations paper worked really nicely as well. And yeah, once this is on there and dry, you can see it's not really moving too much. So that's that one. And then if we wanted to do a similar effect, so we could go in with the marker on the side of the mat, and then we're basically just coloring. And if you feel like you wanted to lighten it up there, that's where you just go off to the side and dab it on a wipe or a tissue, and you can see how it really lightens up that area, and it doesn't all blend together. But if you wanted to go in with your marker, and this could also be an effect where you just colored over it, because it's still translucent. You can still see through it, but you can pull it out, and that gives you that darker edge. wherever you wrote directly on your paper. And that would have to be done on watercolor paper or foundations paper in order for that to work. And then the same with the green. So this is the iced ivy. And here we can scooch in a little bit. So we can draw directly on. And then pull that color out. Like that, or we can draw on the side and then pick that color up. So just a couple different effects. One is much darker, and then one you have a bit more controlled, lighter effect. And you can still, like, look at that glitter. It's just beautiful. It's amazing. Like, the stamping is what really amazed me, I think. Then on the black, I'll just give you a little look at how cool that is. We're gonna do that on our card too. So, and if you do this right away, you're getting some blending. Of course, this is just black cardstock, so if we put it on and we walked away for 5 minutes and came back, it's probably not going to move at all. But you can still, you can write, if you wanted to write something on it. You do get kind of a gold tint, I think, and the green tint when it's written, or if you were to color something that's darker, you can differentiate between the gold and the iced ivy. So a really neat metallic effect. I think that's all I kind of wanted to show you. Just some really cool ways that you can use them, not just coloring. Of course, they would be great for coloring, but to do some really cool effects. All right, let's get started on our card. So for the card, I've embossed this background, and I use the Altenew fringe. There's a bunch of new embossing folders in the Scrap Shotz store. So if you're looking under the February 1st new product list, you'll see all the new ones, but there are, if you're just searching for embossing folders or 3D embossing folders, you can search that as well. So I'm going to show you how I did this, but I went ahead and pre-did some of these little fringes, and they just look like a party to me. This fringe embossing folder, like, I just feel like it's so pretty. And then we're going to add on some distress ink, kind of a rainbow theme here. So I embossed it. This is a little bit thicker cardstock. If you found that for some reason your machine, I'm using it with my Spellbinders Platinum 6, and just using it with one of the plates, the top plate and the bottom plate. And it seems to go through beautifully, but you can also mist your cardstock if you feel like it's cracking and you want to give it a little more pliability. And for this, we're doing that watercolor technique. So we're scribbling off on the side, and we're going to just color our fringes. And hopefully we're not going to run out of water, but I'm thinking we might have to go. I might have to fill it up. And all I'm doing is literally just painting those bottom edges. I'm not even worried if some of the areas are darker. It's almost like the tassels were just dipped in some gold paint. And then we're going to add our distress ink. I kind of was trying to decide whether I thought adding this over the distress ink was better or first, and I don't know. I think this way you're not getting that color, the color of the distress ink underneath it affecting it. It's still going to be glittery, but I wanted it to really look gold. So a little bit is going to be covered up with the inks when we blend over top, but that's okay too. So this was just a fun way, and just add a little bit more as you need to. Just a fun way to add that color. What do you guys find that you make more cards for, or you need more cards for? I think for me it's birthday. Okay, so let's come on out and let's just dry this a tiny, actually, you know what, we're just gonna let that dry and we are going to die cut. So last week we did the alcohol pearls and those are nice and shimmery and pearly. And you need thank you or hi cards, yeah. And birthday cards. I find if I have, you're gonna have to get your crafty hands on some of those markers. Yeah, I know, hey. I find if I have like hello or friend cards, then I'm more likely to send those out. And I think you can always stamp inside a happy birthday message too, so which is nice. So this was the pearl alcohol inks with the alloy that we did last week. And we did a whole bunch of different backgrounds and playing around with them. So if you're wondering how those work, that is on the video page of the Scrap Shotz Facebook page. But I thought that I would use these for doing some die cut embellishments. So we're just going to place these on wherever we think it might work. And these are just some die cuts from my stash. And let's actually put this on here. And I think I say this every time, but I'm really impressed with this Spellbinders Platinum 6 machine. I find that it cuts everything the first pass, and it's just a manual machine. I did see that new Sizzix, what's the one that just came out? Tim Holtz just released it, and I think that Sandy has or can get some of those if you're interested in an electronic machine. Okay, so I'm just running that through, and I find this is always the fun part, because you don't know exactly what you're going to get. That, I know, looks crazy. I think he's doing a live on Saturday, kind of going over all the things that it can do. Okay, so this is the Yupo paper. Try not to lose any of my pieces. So this is one of the flowers. How pretty is that? I find that even if you have a background that you don't super love, once you die cut it, you have so many possibilities. And especially with that rose alloy in there. Isn't that pretty? And then we're kind of getting, they're not all the same color. I do like the different colors. That you end up getting with these backgrounds, but the colors all match if you're die cutting out of that same thing. So we've got, and then if you had die cut, say this friend right in the center, you could totally use it for, I guess you could still use that. You could put like some glitter paper behind it, or some black cardstock or something. Let's see. And then you could use this part as kind of a focal image on your card too. That would still look great. Raquel, I had my Cuttlebug until very recently, and the plates had broke, and I taped them back together, and I decided to upgrade, and I think my Cuttlebug was really well used, and I loved it for so long. So I think I got lots of use out of it, like 10 or 15 years of grafting out of it. So, and I have already lost the little, oh, there it is. I found it. The little dot for the eye. It is right there. So hopefully I don't lose that again. Okay, so we've got our friend, and we've got a couple different flowers, and then I had used a die cut from one of the Mama Elephant Slimlines, the window dressing one, and there was a whole bunch of little flowers and little butterflies, and so I just used scraps of some of that Yupo as well and just cut out a bunch of those. You don't have many dies? Yeah. I don't have a ton of dies because I have a Cricut, but there are a few dies that I have, and I find I use them quite a lot. Like these flowers are the Sizzix Thinlits, and they're an old one, but I find there's a good mix of like greenery and flowers in there if I want to do some stuff. So, or if I see like a slim line that I really like. Okay, so we have this friend. I decided to try a little bit of this Distress Collage medium, and it works really nice as a glue, but also if you want to hold something that's a little bit, you need a little bit more tooth to hold. It seems to, you know, like you can glue metal, and also the art glitter glue works great as well, but I'm kind of enjoying using this for certain things. So I'm just dabbing this on. This is the Yupo paper, so it's plastic. So I think you just have to pay attention to what glue works for you to glue it. So we'll glue this onto our shadow. And press that down. And then we could put this under something just to get it to dry flat. Maybe we should put our little dot on our eye as well before we do that. And I did remember to bring my tweezers up today because of all these little things. Of course. Like you're doing surgery here, right? But it's all worth it in the end. So I'm just going to put this under here for a second just to make sure it's all pressed down. And then we can start on our background. Hello, Sheila. All right, so for the background, I just decided to do some really easy stenciling. I'm not worrying too much about, you know, keeping things too separate. I do have some things I can use for masking a little bit. So I just picked out some rainbow colors here in the oxides. So this one is Festive Berries. And I've just got an assortment of brushes here. I really do like using brushes. I'm going to just have a drink of tea for a sec. Sorry, that swallowing is probably like super loud. Oklahoma, Sheila. What is your weather like in Oklahoma? So I'm just going around in a circular motion and then starting kind of off the side and going down to my area that I added that gold marker. It doesn't need to be perfect. We're just having kind of a neat fringed look. So basically that. You do have some ink on the background, so you're just going to wipe that up. And then all I do to clean these is I just rub them on like a damp cloth or a wipe until the color is gone. And I would go ahead and use this for my other inks or whatever. I don't worry about keeping any that's specifically for a certain ink pad. And I haven't had any problem, and I don't normally wash them. So then we have the orange. So what I'll do is, what do I want to do? I actually want to do this. I'm just going to cover the gold so I don't cover it up because I want that to be nice and gold. And then this one here is carved pumpkin. Okay, so the new Distress ink, we always have this conversation. It's set to come out. It's going to be announced and released on the 26th. So what is your guess? So far we've had Kitsch Flamingo. We've had the Rustic Wilderness, which is the green. We had Speckled Egg, kind of that smoky blue. And then Salvaged Patina, which is that pretty light blue. And we had that orange color, the purple, there's Salvage Patina, the Villainous Potion, and then am I missing something? So I don't know. What do you guys think? Like a red? I'm thinking a red. I'm always wrong though. So we're going to go with Squeezed Lemonade, which is a nice bright yellow. Prize driven, that's right, Irene. Sheila thinks it's going to be a wild berry color. So more of like a red or more of a purple. What do you think? It's cold and rainy there. Oh my goodness. Tornado, snow, sleet, rain. Well, I'll take Calgary weather over that. And you think yellow. Nice yellow is nice to have. I think I've been wrong every time, but I'm always excited for, and I love all the colors. So the pre-order is actually up in the shop if you want to pre-order the bundle, or if you wanted to just get your order in. If you know that you buy the, like I know that I'm going to buy the ink and the oxide and the oxide spray. And what else do I buy? Oh, the glaze. And I'm going to try the spray stain this time. I find this stenciling, you know, it's really kind of, you don't have to think about it too much. You're just enjoying doing what you're doing. This one is Mowed Lawn. So this isn't just an easy kind of mindless thing that you're doing, or that I'm doing, that I kind of enjoy doing this kind of thing, or not thinking about it too much sometimes. So yes, did you guys see the video on the glaze and see the new glazes that are out? And yes, I'm ordering the glazes because I can't wait. And I really need to start using all those. The embossing powders are so beautiful in the glazes. There's so many neat things you can do, and you can just use them as a really great translucent embossing powder. So that's what I will definitely do a video on those when they come out. If you guys haven't tried them, they're really nice, fine embossing powder. I feel like I need to blend that a little bit more over here. And they emboss beautifully, and you can use different colors of ink under them if you want to change the color, which is neat. Hello, Carrie. I don't think did I say hi to you earlier? Like a raspberry. Oh, that does sound nice, Sheila. Pre-orders for Sweet Rush. I'll have to check on that. Rosie, if you're still on, can you check on that and see if Sandy's doing pre-orders for the Sweet Rush? That's the new Vicky Boutin collection. Then we're going to go with the Salvage Patina. I love this color. If she's not still on, I'll find out though, Irene. Yeah, that looks beautiful, hey? Forgetting the new time. I know. Actually going to turn this around because it's pulling some of that green in, which is okay, but yeah, my kids when they're at school, they get out at 3:30, so I knew at 3 o'clock there'd be no way I could get done in time, but they're actually home today, teachers convention. So we have a nice long weekend, just relaxing, and then family day here in Alberta is on Monday. And sure, Raquel, do you guys have a holiday on Monday in Ontario? Okay, so then we are going to go with our Villainous Potion, and it's a pretty deep purple. I could have gone with a little bit lighter purple, but I just grabbed this one and thought we'll just do it really lightly. So I'm even going to just take just a scrap piece of paper, and I'm just gonna kind of load up my brush and get some of that ink off there. You have family day, okay. And in Nova Scotia, did I know that you were from Nova Scotia, Irene? I'm from Nova Scotia, and I grew up in the Annapolis Valley. It's much different living here in Alberta, but I do like it. I do miss some things about Nova Scotia, and I lived in Halifax for a while, and so it would be nice to go back, I think in the fall, because the fall is so different here, but to go back and, you know, go down to the waterfront or see the valley in the summer. But it's been a long time. All right, so we just kind of went really light on that purple, and you can see it's just a really nice rainbow of colors for our party kind of friend background. I think you could use this for lots. And I didn't do this on the other one, but I think I'm going to actually add a few water splatters. So I'm just going to spray it like off to the side, because you know, distress kind of reacts to those water splatters. We can add a few more like little drops. Okay, it's like I'm doing some kind of magic show. And let's see if we can see that close up. So pretty. Yours is President's Day. Yes, I think I read on Facebook, Sheila, about your ankle. How is it feeling? Yeah, it's a very cool effect. And then, so this one here, I kind of had the it still looks fine, but I had this a little too far up, and you can see it will actually cover that gold if you wanted it to. So then we're going to try out our glitter marker and do it on the background here. So this is just a piece of black cardstock, and I just cut it with a frame die from Waffle Flower. It does look like a piñata. I was totally thinking about that Mama Elephant stamp from a while ago with the piñata. All right, so I think that I used the golden honey on this. I don't think it really matters because either one is going to go. But we're actually, before I do this, I think I'm going to run out of my water in my pen. So I'm just going to refill this quickly. There we go. Okay, so we're just going around the edge of this. And we could leave it like this for a really nice bold effect, or you can blend that out a little bit for a softer effect while it's still wet. I'll just go around, and you can get actually a pretty thin line if you just wanted to go around edges or make some designs, some geometric drawings or something. You can get a pretty neat effect. I think depending on how you're holding it depends on how it's blending out. But you kind of figure out how it works for you. You're still getting that effect of the black cardstock in the background with some sparkle. And I think sparkle is always fun. So you might decide, you know, that you like some elements of this card, but you don't like, you know, you wouldn't put sparkle edge or something like that on it. But this is kind of just giving you an idea of all the different ways that you could use the markers and pull them all together if you wanted to, or you might just want to use, you know, one or two of these techniques. Okay, so that's our border. We're going to glue that on, but before we do, we're just going to color our little leaves, and these are cut out of watercolor cardstock. So I'm going to show you how you can get a darker or a lighter effect. I can zoom in a little bit for this. It still hurts, Sheila. My sister. Oh, thanks, Diane. Yes, this is very fun. This is looking at the glitter markers and just playing around with that Altenew fringe. So Sheila, my sister, went on, there's a hike in BC, a trail that you can go on, and she tripped and broke her foot. And it took a while for it to heal, but it has, thankfully. But she did need to kind of take it easy, and she walked around on it for a couple days before she decided to give up the hike. So she thought for sure she had just, you know, like maybe twisted it and it would resolve. But so you can see how you get this darker effect and that shadowing if you're doing it directly on your cardstock or on your watercolor paper. And I'm Just blending that out. And you could go back and add more if you decided you wanted to. I do kind of like the look of that where some is dark and then some is light. And then for this one, if you wanted a more like a softer color, then you do the same thing. Or if you had cardstock that wasn't watercolor, this is a good way to color it because it's going to blend out a lot nicer. You're still getting that look of like a watercolor. So you can do that either way. And even if you wanted to go in again and felt like you wanted to add a little bit on, you can still do that. Okay, so let's see if we have this, get this dry, and then we can get this together. This isn't too wet, it's just a little bit damp because we did add a fair amount of water with that water brush, so I just want to make sure it's nice and dry before we add it to our card. But the sparkle on it is really nice. And this is just cut from one of those older Tim Holtz Physics die sets with the flowers and the leaves. I think it's always nice to have one of those sets because you can do so much with it. And you can pre-cut a bunch of things out from watercolor cardstock, and then you can decorate them any color depending on what you're making or what matches. Okay, so now we can start putting our card together. And if you like to take photos of your cards, and I just found out this little tip. If you put, you know how if you're taking a photo and you're kind of looking down and it's open, and so it looks like it's lopsided even though you're looking straight down taking a photo. If you put a piece of washi tape inside, it flattens it, and then you can take a photo much more easily. And I can't believe that I did not know that before. We do have a challenge for February, and in our paper crafting group, in the Scrap Shotz paper crafting group, so that's love or friendship or red, and you can use any or all of those things and add your project to the album for February. And then there's a winner of a $25 gift certificate for Scrap Shotz at the end of the month. There's a draw of all the entries, so it's hard to see because I'm sitting down. I'm going to stand up to put this on. So it's a nice little way to kind of get out your supplies and try a challenge, and then, you know, possibly win something as well. Plus you end up with a card. And if you make a friend card, then you can send that to a friend, which is nice. All right, so we've got our frame on. Then this is our background that we did with that glitter. And I don't know if you can see it, but I can see, even though we put on just a really fine wash of that glitter marker there, you can still see the glitter. This one here, it's a little bumpy, but we can still put it on. We might have to hold it for a second. Or if you're using a different adhesive. I usually just use liquid glue because I find it easier, and I never know where my glue adhesive rollers kind of are, but my daughter was making some kind of craft and she wanted to use them. So I went and looked for them and found them. And they were like I think they're the 3L, but the smaller rollers, the red. And she used two of them up. She's like, oh, I used them all up. Like, okay. She was making some kind of a paper wallet for her friends. So you can certainly can you do a layout? I'm assuming you're saying for the challenge. And yes, definitely, Irene. Does not have to be any particular products, whatever you have on hand. So you can pick whatever products you want, and it's just the theme, which is fairly open, where, like, we just want you guys to create, use your stuff. So love, friendship, red, pink, that's kind of our theme for this month. And anything that kind of fits into that category, any or all of them, we would love to see. And you can do any kind of project you want, a layout, a card. You could do something that's not a card. Okay, so we're going to pop this up a little bit, and these little pop dots I think are invaluable. So these are the 3D foam squares. I do have the big roll of the foam tape, which I love, but I also like having these foam squares. The backing comes off them really nicely, and they stick really well. And this is the strips. And since I've gotten them, I use these so much because I find, especially for little areas, I dislike having to cut down my foam tape, having to really work at cutting a lot. And they're a little strip that's already pre-cut. So we're just going to add this. We don't have to tape everywhere. Sometimes the cheap Amazon tape runners are your favorite choice. It's a good idea. I think we even had some from the dollar store from them or for them. But of course, I didn't know where those were at the time. So, okay, well, I'll have to stock up on that after this. These are great. These little strips are also great for shakers as well. I just love when a product makes your life easier. Okay, so that is our friend. We're also going to glue this down under here. So I'm just kind of eyeballing where I want it. I want it about right there. Kind of like that. Doesn't have to be perfect. We'll add our friend on top. And this is always the part where I think, oh my gosh, I should have pre-done this. Some things you just can't rush. I feel like every time I use washi tape or every time I'm crafting, later that day, I find washi tape stuck to me somewhere. It's always like on my arm or on my shirt. But I think I have a habit of kind of sticking it on my craft mat and then I put my arm in it. Okay, so we've got our friend. We'll kind of put that right over top of our leaf. The little hello I stamped from this Loads of Hello stamp set from Avery Elle. I've used this quite a bit. It's a really good stamp set. And then we'll just trim that out. Okay. And we'll just get one more of those little strips to put behind there. They're so perfect for little things. So is anybody going to do anything for this long weekend? Do you have any plans? I don't think we're going to do too much. Some things around the house. Okay, so we've got our little hello popped up there, and then we can add our flowers. So again, back to if you have those embellishments that you die cut from your pieces that you had, the alcohol inks, you could die cut out a bunch of those and then just have a bunch of embellishments that you can then make clusters of. You could do those for scrapbook pages. You could put them on your cards. So we're going to just layer that, and we have these flowers. Love the colors that ended up going into these. And you only need a piece of foam tape in the center. Like, you don't have to tape the whole thing down. So we've got two little flowers. And we'll just kind of tuck them, and okay, then we have these Spellbinders gems. You plan to work on your Fernwood album, Irene? That sounds amazing. I bet it's incredible. Cards and layouts, hopefully, for Raquel. These Spellbinders gems, I'm really liking these. There's a bunch of different colors in this shop. These are the crystal mix. So you have the clear kind of crystal, and then you have this iridescent crystal. And I liked how the iridescent crystal really picked up the purple in the alcohol background. So I thought I'd use these. And I found it easier to use a craft knife just to pick it up rather than trying to pick it off with my fingers and place it down. So it seems to just grab them and put them down. So I thought that worked really well. I really like the gems. I like that there's a whole bunch of small ones because I really like the small ones as well. Okay, and then we're going to get our little tiny flowers and butterflies that we cut out of the alcohol ink background. And we're just going to place those on. Thanks, Sheila. Yeah, it's kind of nice. This would be fun to get in the mail, hey? So we're just going to glue these on. You could use your collage medium. You can use this glue, and it's just going to take a few minutes to dry though. That's okay. But it dries clear, so we're good if a little bit sneaks out there. And you have a little bit of time to move too, so if you want to kind of move it around and stick it under things, you can do that. And then we'll put a couple up here. Whoops, my glue is starting to drip. And we are, just to kind of give you a sneak heads up, we are planning a crop in the Scrap Shotz paper crafting group, little online crop. So we're going to get you the details for that in not too long, very shortly. So just keep an eye on either the Facebook page or the Instagram. Okay, so we've got a couple different color options. Let's see. I kind of like this one. It has the blue and the purple in it, so I think maybe we'll use that. Maybe I put this over here on the other card, so we'll move it over here. And then there's a blue butterfly here, so maybe we'll use that. It's nice and pearly because it had that alcohol pearl. My kids like to do baking, so I think maybe we'll do some baking this weekend. And then for these little ones, these little tiny gems would actually fit in there really nicely, but I thought as an option, we would use the Dream Drops because they work well as it's also. This is the Indigo Eclipse. It's kind of the purple color. There's about 6 or 7 different colors in the store, but if you have them, they're great for adding little embellishment details. You can do larger drops, you can do smaller, and they kind of just self-level out. So I was looking for a recipe for the haystacks, you know, like the chocolate oatmeal, and all I could find was the ones with peanut butter, which we made those and they were really good. But I remember as kids making some haystacks that only had oatmeal and the cocoa and coconut in it. Right? For some reason I could not find that recipe. So that's what we made the other day. The embossing folder, Sheila, is the Altenew Fringe embossing folder. So there's a bunch of new ones in the shop. They're very cool. It's the 3D. Thanks, Margaret Erica. All right, so here's our card. And it's got lots of shine between that pearl and the glitter markers. No bake cookies, yes. And I looked at chocolate no bake. I don't know if I was just getting like all the peanut butter ones. And we like peanut butter, don't get me wrong. Thanks, Jennifer. But yes, I should look up no bake cookies. Sometimes those are great to just do quickly with your kids when they want to bake. Thanks, Irene. Thanks, Carrie. Yeah, just kind of a pretty friend card. We used some products that we had in our stash, which is fun. Die cutting out backgrounds that you already have, and playing around with these fun glitter markers. So yeah, that's that. Hopefully you guys have a good weekend. If you have a long weekend, enjoy yourself. Sheila, I hope your foot is feeling better very soon. And hopefully you guys get to do some crafting. Have fun. If you're part of the Creative Scrapbooker VIP group, their Zoom crop is on Saturday, so that will be fun. And yeah, enjoy, and I will definitely enjoy my family. And thanks guys for stopping in. I love crafting with you guys, and it was fun. So I'll talk to you later. Bye.